What's up, peeps? We're back with another Decision Lab reaction video. CJ, having so much fun with this. How many times do we text each other and we're like, we should do a reaction on this? Like, it happens so often, and I love it.
Yeah, it's
So
really easy to get inspiration for these. There's so
so
much out
easy
there.
to right. Today we're talking about psychics and mediums and hand readers and tarot card readers. All of those types of things. Are they real or are they just using mind hacks? Let me just break the news to you. It's called cold reading, and we're gonna break it down today. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, so like we're specifically going over psychics, and I think we decided to talk about this because you guys were just on Seeking Center podcast, which is a really great episode. You guys should go check that out. It was super interesting, especially like the emergence of science and spirituality. But it's a great transition into this video, because on that podcast, like they talk about how psychics helped them heal their trauma. And so that has inspired us to talk about what the science behind that actually is, because if people are using this to heal their trauma, maybe that's concerning, and maybe we need a trauma-informed coach to speak on that a little bit.
Yes, we
So
definitely do.
without that, question one, we'll just like straight up ask and get into the introduction here. Have you ever seen a psychic?
Like a hand reader, yeah, and like someone who is like a psychic in general. Yes, I'm not the best target, to be honest with you, but I have seen one, yes, and a
Yeah,
card reader.
I don't think I mean I haven't done any like legit card readings. I've done them for just like for fun, and then I have seen a psychic at a Ren fair. But I mean, you know me. I feel like I'm not like easy to read, but there's just a lot of ground that you could pull from, right? Like
Which is
especially if
something
you've
we will
been
cover today.
right, especially if you've been through trauma. There's a lot of general statements that can be made to you. So I think I definitely felt that a little bit. My like perspective is, I mean, like it's fun in general, but if you're taking it seriously, maybe we need to talk about something here.
Yeah, we definitely do need to talk about something.
So we're into like the why it's controversial, like other than we've already covered people are using this to kind of help their mental health. I think it's interesting, there's not really a middle ground on psychics. Do you find it feels like people are like really for them, or like they just don't believe it and they're like whatever and wash their hands, and then they're always kind of part of like fringe spaces, like
Yes. Well, and this is
get big
part of
on.
what makes them work.
Yeah.
This is what part of allows them to grow and do the thing. And there's just a lot of basic statistical science, cold reading, social science, like really basic stuff actually
Mhm.
that they use, especially with their clients. Like just as an example, CJ, have you ever had someone come to you and say, "Yeah, I went to the psychic reading and it kind of sucked"?
I think so.
Okay. How many more have you had that said, "Oh my God, you are not going to believe this. They read the cards, they read my hands, and they knew all of these things that they couldn't have ever known." How many more of those
Yeah,
types?
I mean, there's definitely a
Okay.
lot more of those. Like, especially once you get in the online space, it's actually I think skews mostly towards positivity.
Right.
Because I'm
Because the
like
people
on
who
like
are
witch talk and stuff. Like I see it.
right. Well, and that is just a statistical bias. People who there's a positivity bias like that. That's such a blatant thing that people who it's successful for are the only ones speaking. So no one sees the negative side, and so our brains. Our social brains skew those positive views like, oh, this must mean they're real. Even though statistically that could just be the 1% of people who someone was able to guess that their mom or dad was speaking them from the grave. But that doesn't mean that it's a real thing.
Right. So today
So,
we pulled a clip, and I'll give like a quick intro. So we pulled from the Hollywood Medium, who I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen. Tyler Henry. He's been like platformed by E News. I think he just got a like Netflix show actually. So like grain of salt, because what we're watching is obviously a reality TV show that's being done with celebrities. So like of course you can find out a lot about their real lives, and like you would have to, because it'd be weird if you showed up to a to somebody's house and you didn't know who they were. So
yeah.
we weren't able to find any like actual like blind ones, because obviously people want to protect their privacy and their trauma. These are celebrities, so it's easier to find out. But we're gonna do a clip breakdown and tell you all of the things that he's doing that's making it seem legit.
Just in the setup, really quickly, something I want to
Hmm.
articulate in what you just said is one of the reasons why these things don't get light shined on them, because they want to protect their privacy. They don't want to do this in public. They don't
Hmm.
like the vast majority of people who are using cold reading, whether it's as a medium, as a psychic, as a hand reader, as a tarot card reader, whatever, it's the same way. And so the stuff doesn't get in front of our face, right? And so while it's theatrical and it's like this E News or E whatever it's not dissimilar from what is happening inside of an actual session. Because I saw the video and I was like, okay, yeah, this is cold reading 101. So,
Okay.
and maybe it makes sense
Yeah,
to talk
that's
about cold
good to know.
reading as well. Like,
Yeah,
because that's
just
what,
give us, overview.
well, it's just the what people are using. All of these types of people are using, and it relies on general statements, observations, clever language patterns to allow them to not be wrong, allow them to get information that you don't even mean to give necessarily, and just build rapport really, really rapidly. And so people are just unaware they're providing people clues through reactions in their body, verbal cues, movements of their face, all these little tiny things. And then the cold reader is able to reframe, repeat, or build on the clues that are given to them, which is so obvious in the video we're about to watch. I will show you. And it makes people believe that they have some supernatural ability, but they just don't. And so, like, just to give an example, like a Barnum statement, right? This is a vague but flattering statement that is true for most people. You have a lot of unused potential. Come on, like, are you telling me that I'm reading your mind because of that? No, like most people are that way, right? Or like a rainbow ruse, which is something that covers all bases. You are, CJ, you're generally a very open person, aren't you? But you've also learned to be cautious around certain people, haven't you? What did I just do there? I just said you are open and cautious. I could say, CJ, I bet you're the type of person who is like an introvert that sits on the sidelines and doesn't like to talk to tons of people. But every once in a while, you love to go to a party and be extroverted.
And that's
what did I just do? Right? So like that's a rainbow statement. And it's things like that people, that's what cold reading is. Those are just two really big examples, but we'll dive into more specific ones here. But that's big picture what is happening. There's an entire, just Google cold reading. You'll find tons of books, tons of videos on how to do this stuff, how to treat people, how to read people, like, and people who are really, 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 really good at this can be very convincing. But it is cold reading. They are not touched by the divine.
Sweet. I think that's a really good introduction, and now people are set up. So let's go ahead and start the clip breakdown, because I saw your notes and I feel like it's gonna take a while to get through all this.
Okay. It's going to be a fun time, though, I promise. All right. Let's open this bad boy up. Here we go.
Today, and I have no idea who I'm about to read, but I'm really excited. I have some information coming through that I think will apply to the client today, and so I'm going into this reading even more confident because I know
this is just already what I love is that.
So that's building authority.
Yeah, in these episodes, like he always acts kind of like he's getting, like vibes before he ever sees the person, which I mean, I don't know how this would work, because if you're just like walking down the street, I don't think you could pick up the vibes on this specific person that you're going to go see, because couldn't it be like anybody in the space? That was one question I had, like, right off the bat. And also, again, it'd be weird to just go to somebody's house and not know who they are, especially because he always greets them.
Right, but this is part of a textbook cold reading setup, is your psychic credentials. So what he's doing is less about actually picking someone up and more about creating the story in our brain that he is a psychic. And because we have confirmation bias, we want to prove that he's a psychic. And that psychic setup is part of cold reading. We are primed to expect accuracy. That is a priming that he's doing. That's part of it. Even that statement is part of cold reading. And there are literally books that give exact sentences on what to say, like he just did. So I just want to make that clear to people in general here. So which is a crazy time. But all right. Let's dive back in here. Okay.
Nancy Grace, no way! Oh my god, it's so good to meet you.
Likewise.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a little overwhelmed.
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, this is wonderful. This has like made my life. Like, you don't know.
My name is Nancy Grace. You may have recognized me from Good Morning America or guesting on various shows, or my long-running show, Nancy Grace. It's a crime analysis show. Well, I would say something. But
I
have a
didn't know who
feeling
she
you
was
already
before
know what
this. I
I'm
just
gonna
picked
say.
it because it said skeptic. So
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's
most people start. I'm going to speed this up a little bit so that we
yeah.
can listen to this faster. But most people are a skeptic. So, and she's a crime podcast. Like, come on, like some of this is already too much for me. But let's keep going.
That's a good sign.
Okay. Well, for me, if I were trying this case, I would never put a psychic in front of a jury. It's just not a matter of black and white. It cannot be proven. So for me to believe in almost anything, I look for proof. And that would be him knowing something that is not already out there, something that only I would know. I want to believe, but I'm on the fence.
My gosh, it's such an honor to meet you.
Just I want to show that wanting to believe is what cold reading is made to exploit. Like, we want to believe these things. We want to believe there's this thing that is we don't understand, because our brains want to understand stuff like that. So that feeds into a cold reader's ability to convince someone that they have powers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, it's just so it's like just based on like our curiosity or the fact that like we want to be open to experiences and seem like that kind of person. So we're like, oh, we want to make this work, kind of.
At the end, I actually also prepared some ways that you can defend yourself against cold reading, and it involves coming in with the opposite mindset and things like that. And I also prepared how cold readers react to that, because it's not surprise, surprise. It's not their fault that they can't make the read. It's your fault. You're just not open to this, and it's all of a sudden your fault that the reading's not working. Can't believe it. So we'll get there, but just wanted to put that up for grabs.
Likewise.
You are such an inspiration to me. I'm kind of speechless.
Me too.
Nancy Grace is a huge inspiration to me because she advocates for those who can't advocate for themselves. And in a similar sense, I think throughout my readings, I kind of give a voice to those who don't have a physical voice. So I felt like we had that in common to some extent.
Very hopeful.
It's an interesting perspective.
Absolutely. Understand.
Say it again.
I said that's an interesting perspective. I don't have anything specific on that. That's just what an interesting connection to make.
Yeah.
That they
My
like,
goal is
both
just to make
work
sure that when
for
I
the
see a
dead.
person, that I leave them better than I found them. But I do believe that our loved ones have messages, they'll deliver them, and sometimes we can get insights into our personal life. So that's the gist.
I understand.
Awesome.
I am interested in Tyler's medium ability to speak to those who have passed on. And out of all of my criminal investigations, believe me, I think I know a lot of dead people. Okay. And I brought some objects with me today to help him if he's for real.
Do you have any objects for me to hold on to today?
Well, I have two.
Okay.
But I'd like to start with this one.
Perfect. Let's do it. So if you don't mind, I'll hold on to that. Sound good?
I usually don't let anybody else touch it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's pause here, because this is, again, cold reading 101, psychometry or whatever you want to call it, that getting a object. Okay. This legitimizes guesswork, right? It makes people feel like, oh, there's no way that they could be guessing. There's no way. Okay. And so props help give context to the cold reader. Okay. So let's just break this down right now. It's a handkerchief.
Right. So like this is one I picked up on, because I mean I'm not as well versed as you, but I was like, okay, she handed over a handkerchief, so it's obviously like probably a masculine presence.
There you go.
Right.
Beautiful.
Kept in like
you look at you.
a suit or something like that.
Exactly. And it's definitely not from her mom or her grandma, right? It's probably from a dad or a grandpa. And considering that she's a little bit older, it's probably an older man. Okay. So as it feels like that'd be impossible to guess, but even if this object came from someone, statistically, the likelihood that it's from a parent, right? So already that's 50-50. And now it's a handkerchief. So now it's like, okay, it's probably a dad based on her age.
Yeah.
And so you can guess, and that's just guesswork.
Same thing.
That's clever guesswork with tons of emotional strings being poked at her as we go through this. But okay, let's keep going here.
So I'll scribble and we'll see what comes through. And anybody can connect, but we'll see where we go. Scribbles that. Okay. Two men. Thank you. Now I have a man that's insistent to come through, and he connects very much so as a fatherly kind of a figure when he's wanting to connect. Who had the congestive heart failure?
My father.
Can't believe it. Congestive heart failure. There's no fucking way that you could guess that. But guess what the number one killer of men in his generation is? Congestive heart failure.
Yeah, this was the one where I was kind of like, okay, like I made a like timestamp here, and I was like, where did that come from? Because of course you can figure out that it's a father. Like I got that far, and I'm just somebody.
No, the other thing too that people will do is they'll guess numbers in your address or whatever, and I can't remember if it's a 4 or a 2 is the most statistically likely number to be in your address, and they can guess that, and it's purely based on guesswork. And if they meet enough people and talk to enough people, it will hit for someone, and then because of the positivity bias we just talked about, the person it hit for will go tell 100 other people, oh my God, it worked. But the other 99 people that the guess didn't work for are going to be like, oh, well, that didn't work. Okay, this is awkward. And they'll move on. And there's ways to pivot and stuff in cold reading when you don't get a hit and keep digging, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
That is one of my father's handkerchiefs, and I keep it with me all the time, at all times, right here by my heart.
Love that. There's a reference when I'm talking about Dad, and I'm referencing to the congestive heart failure thing. I don't know why this is coming across the way that it is, but there's an acknowledgement of having to go into hospital or getting a procedure one time and feeling like we go in once. And for whatever reason, I'm having to separate this into two separate things. The way this is kind of being presented is basically, I want to stay where I'm at. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to stay home. Like, I know what I have. This is my situation. I'm not going to deal with it. For this situation, obviously, the less I know, the better. But with this, do you know if Dad ever went to one medical facility and then had to switch or was suggested to switch into another? Or do you?
Again, that is not uncommon. That is statistically common. And totally normal. And she used the rainbow ruse again, saying one part of him wants to stay in and doesn't want to go to the hospital, and another part knows he has to. That's saying nothing by saying something.
Yeah, my first thought, again, as somebody that doesn't know, was it feels like old men are usually just kind of like that. Like they don't want to be in the hospital. So it's
right.
Not really a reach to think nope. I mean, nobody wants to be in the hospital, but
oh
especially
man, CJ, do you want to be in the hospital?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Who wants to be in that? No one does.
Yeah, you know how stubborn old crotchety guys get though, and I can't get my dad to go to the doctor for anything.
Yeah.
Right.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that one. That's what my prediction was there.
Yeah. Fair.
Do you know where that could potentially fit for him?
Yes.
Though we did acknowledge Dad having the congestive heart failure aspect, there is a reference technically of two causes of passing. And I know that sounds weird. Like we get diagnosed with one thing and then another contributing underlying factor is actually what actually kind of contributes to us ultimately making our transition.
He did pass away of congestive heart failure, but the real intervening cause is that because of his heart problem in the hospital, he suddenly had kidney failure. And that, they say, was the real cause of his death. To make his kidney work, they flushed his body with fluid.
Right.
And it made the congestive heart much worse.
Much, much worse.
And I've always felt that it was my fault because I single-handedly made him go.
Okay. Notice how he is not saying anything. He offered up, could it be this? Could it be that? Could he went here? It was this thing, but then it was another thing, which again, the most common cause of death in a hospital is not the thing you go in for. It's infection or it's something like what he just said. Statistically, that's just known. Ask any ER doctor. Okay, so that's just a known thing. And that was just a complete and utter, he said that out loud to statistically sound like, oh yeah, this is legit. And then she now, the last 2 minutes of this have been what? Her talking and giving him more and more and more and more information for him to use. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
this is
because I didn't want to lose him.
So obvious.
So sorry. There's not a single shred of anger, frustration, resentment, anything. Ultimately, he knew that he didn't have that choice, and he doesn't blame you for being in that position because he knew that it was his time. And I believe that when it's our time, as hard as it is for me to process or rationalize or come to terms with, he acknowledges that it just fundamentally was his time. And there's no sense of blame for you. He knows that there was this underlying cause that contributed in addition to this heart problem, but he's okay with it. So please know, he is completely understanding of the circumstances of his death.
Okay, these are Barnum statements. These are universally true things. You could say those statements to anyone and they would say, oh my God, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You know, it's an emotional payoff that cements the belief and distracts from the fact that there is no verifiable information that has been provided here. And this is the part for me in the trauma space. She's already willing to do this on camera and all this kind of stuff. So that's a thing. But in the trauma space, in the closed doors, in the version of this conversation that's happening behind a closed door, it could be totally invalidating to someone's past, totally invalidating what someone's going through, and completely spiritually bypass real work that needs to be done, real grief work that needs to be done, instead of just absolving guilt randomly. That
was definitely going to be my question here is is this necessarily a bad thing if it is like helping someone move on from grief? Because I think that's the same example they used in the Seeking Center as well, was specifically moving on from grief. So if you're able to hear and like just believe for a second, like, okay, this person passed on without any animosity towards me and is in a better place, like, how bad is that?
I don't disagree with you, to be honest. I'm with you on that.
Mhm.
I don't know. Do I think it's really in-depth healing? No. I think it's surface level healing
Yeah.
that may resurface and rekindle things because it's reliant on something outside of yourself. That's the part that really frustrates me. It's relying on this medium. It's relying on someone. You have to go pay them again to get that certainty. And that's where it gets a little bit ethically foggy for me, because in the work like IFS, when I'm working with someone, I am leaving them with the power in themselves to handle their stuff. Like there's an end. Like they don't have to, they're not coming to me to get confirmation. I'm helping them understand how to figure it out inside of themselves and giving them that power so they don't have to go outside of themselves to get the relief they're looking for. This makes you reliant on something outside of yourself, and that's where it gets ethically foggy from my perspective.
Yeah, I think the other end of this, I mean, this is obviously kind of like a speed run, but I could get what you're saying, like people that regularly see a psychic.
Yeah,
Because I
precisely.
mean, that's honestly kind of the same problem we both have with like traditional therapy even. And so I hadn't made that connection, but I think that's definitely important to bring up on like, yeah, to keep getting this closure, or if you have like an anxious thought about this, well, then you're going to go ask about it and keep this like cycle going.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's keep going here.
And he is not upset. I wouldn't even say he forgives you because he wasn't even upset in the first place. So know that. You didn't need forgiveness. You just have to forgive yourself. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you for being so open about such an incredibly difficult part of your life.
It was awful. My father did not want to go to the hospital. He didn't even want to go. Never been discussed, and I've always blamed myself for insisting that he go to the doctor. But it was encouraging to me the possibility that my father believes it was time for him to pass on and that he is okay with that.
Okay. Thank you. The other energy that I'm wanting to connect with, and this is more of a feeling that's being connected to this other person, but the feeling is like tragedy, tragedy, tragedy. And I don't know what this is, but there's a feeling of a situation getting out of hand and not going how it was intended to originally go. This doesn't look
Oh my God, just another Barnum statement. A situation got out of hand and it didn't go the way it was supposed to. What information does that provide to her? If she said, oh, I don't know what you're thinking, what would he do next? Nothing. But watch.
look like I was supposed to die that day. The feeling is I don't even necessarily get the strongest impression of someone like seeking someone out and like, oh, I'm going to take your life. There's a feeling of something goes wrong, and I don't know why this feeling of something goes wrong, like that wasn't the original plan. It really
Okay, the other thing he does really good, actually, which is a cold reading tactic, is the not okay principle. So there's a principle in psychology called okay, not okay. And the concept is that when people are not okay, someone who's more okay wants to help the not okay person. And so what he does really good is like, I just have this feeling like, I don't know what's like, he's playing not okay really, really, really well and making her feel more okay. So she is more likely to help him. And that's a psychological okay, not okay principle. So he's really good at that. I'll give him that. He's good at that. So just for your information. Yeah.
really comes through as a feeling of, I know that this is for my like money, or this comes across more so as like a robbery that ends up being like a homicide.
I'm sure you're
That
referring to
did
my fiance who
feel-
was murdered.
Say it again.
I will say a little bit specific to me. That like bit. But I think
The
this is where I
robbery?
made it. Yeah, well, I mean, especially or like statistically, even like thinking, there's like someone who got accidentally like killed. Like that's already like a little bit strange, and because my first thought was like, oh, okay, it's a car crash or something kind of random like that. And then he did
Right.
keep going a little bit further until we got to like a robbery or something. And like I know America, like it's fair to say we have a gun violence problem, so maybe.
And
like,
he's
that
watching her
plays into
face
it.
for confirmation, because what he's doing is
Okay.
called shotgunning. It was a robbery. It was a homicide. That's called shotgunning. And then he forks, right? So he says, oh, and he's watching her face, and then she's about to confirm one of the paths, and he'll go down that path. And do not forget, this woman is famous.
Right. That was
How
my note on
crazy
this.
is it that he could have Googled her and figured out, oh, my brother or my fiance or whoever was, something happened. Okay, so that's the other thing to kind of keep in mind, the research that
Yeah.
can be done outside of just statistical things.
Murdered. We think before as a mugging. Not really sure why. I've
Right.
never known.
I'm so sorry.
He had gotten a job over the summer on a construction crew, actually. And a guy that had been fired from the job came back with a gun, and he unloaded the whole gun on Keith around his face, neck, and back. And that's what happened. It was not an argument. They didn't really know each other
Right.
at all.
Right.
But he was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And I don't know what the guy intended. I'm sure it wasn't to go murder Keith because he didn't really know Keith.
That's the thing. Yeah.
But
So
he did murder
my
Keith.
Right. Exactly.
my thought on this bit was like why I jumped more to like this would be a Googleable thing rather than he's able to figure this out, although now you've explained it, was like I don't know who this woman is, but surely this is a part of her journey to becoming a prosecutor. Right?
Yeah.
Like that was my first thought on like there's no way that she would have spoken about this somewhere before because like that if you view it as like you want to help advocate for these people who can't advocate for themselves anymore, like what an inciting incident. Like I'm sure
Yeah.
this would inspire you to like take action in that way.
Right. And she just gave him an entire, so many pieces of things that he
Right.
could use next. We'll see where he goes. I would imagine it's something about helping her feel better, about being in contact with him and helping her feel better or something like that. I would almost guarantee it's some type of push statement or some unusual detail that he brings up or something like that. That's a complete guess, but he could stretch it and make it sound right or something like that. Like, let's just see what happens.
He hated the way you found out. There's a referencing a phone call in one case for an individual in a public place, but he is having me acknowledge like a phone call.
Yes.
How did that just happen? Like, are you kidding
There's
me?
an ultra specific detail.
That's called a push statement, and it can be stretched because what does in public mean? That could be around 2 people. That could be around 100 people. That could be on a cell phone. It could be on a payphone. Maybe not a payphone, but you get my point. That's a push statement. Okay, so if she had learned in person, he could have just pivoted to I'm hearing something arrive on the news or something like that. Like, sweet baby Jesus.
Gotcha.
Let's keep going.
That morning I'd gone to take a statistics test, and I had taken a long time to take the test, and I had a job in the university library. And I stopped halfway to call the library and said, I just got in my exam, I'm on the way. And they told me to call his sister. And I knew immediately that Keith was dead. For no reason, I just knew. And his sister told me. I remember it like it was yesterday.
You've done so much good since and made him so proud.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I hope so. I thought of him
Barnum statement.
many, many times when I was trying cases and would be so tired and didn't feel like I could keep going. I would just see his blue eyes and feel like I was doing the right thing. It's not that I heard words. I just felt encouraged to keep going.
Absolutely. To fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves.
Yeah.
He's having me bring up finding handwriting after.
It's called a lucky guess. It's called a lucky guess. It happens to everybody. Blind squirrel finds a nut eventually. And also sitting on the couch, I don't know if you noticed, is a letter. That is the other object that she brought with her with the handkerchief is a letter. So,
Yeah.
surprise, surprise, handwriting is involved.
Well, like my just thought process was like, after someone dies, it's not uncommon to be going through their things or something. You're going to see something that they've written on. And so, like, even if it's like an anniversary card or something like that, like you are going to like tie meaning to it because you know that person is gone now. So even like more broad and not like I would assume that everyone kind of has like some sort of handwriting
Exactly.
experience attached to like a death of a person they were close to, especially.
It's one of the most common keepsakes that people have, or letters that they wrote, or different things like that. And if he's wrong, there's something called a win-win game in cold reading that lets him blame it on symbolism of some kind. Oh, okay, well,
right.
his writing is figurative. He's writing to you now, figuratively, right? And so which is a common thing for someone to want to do. Like if I imagined somebody that I cared about deeply, and they were trying to connect with me, writing is a huge way. We've done it for all of human history. So this is not rocket science. All right.
And the feeling is like we're going through these things, but he actually wrote you a letter or wrote you a note.
Wow, that is incredible.
And he's wanting it to be known that after he passed
like
away,
the
he
good-
wanted you to be able to look at this, go back to this, be able to pull it out, and be able to read this because this has significance to him. But it's in a very loving context. Do you have any letters or notes saved of his?
Yes.
Oh,
I brought this with me today, and before I brought it in here, I took it out of its envelope
right.
so there would not be any writing on the outside. And I have a wooden box that I keep Keith's letters in. And before I came to you, I just picked one up without reading which one it was. So this is a letter from Keith, and it says, "Dearest Nancy, it is Monday night, and I only left this morning, and already it feels like a month. I'm writing to tell you we had such a wonderful weekend. I'm glad I stayed there through Sunday."
Her reading him this letter is giving him extra data.
Right.
She is just giving this information to him. If she said, I'm going to keep this folded up and I want you to tell me what he wrote, crickets, guarantee it. But she is just offering it to him because she's in such an emotional state that her prefrontal cortex is not turned on right now. She's in the limbic part of her brain and willing to do this stuff, things she might not otherwise be willing to do. Just like,
Right. My prediction here was like, yes, of course there's like a writing attached to somebody when you die, but like because it was letters specifically, and that seems to be a thing of theirs, that there's even more of an emotional connection because of that. Like this seemed to be a thing that they like really did and made important, so it's just sort of an elevated state at that point.
and he knows that. This dude knows that. What's this guy's name?
Tyler Henry. He's been doing this since he was like 16, I think. Like he got his show really early on, which is impressive. It's impressive to be that good at like, you know, just being that connected to people's emotional states like that young. So
Hey, I could give you 3 books, and I bet in a year you could be doing the same thing. So let's just put it there.
So sweet. Please remember, I will love you forever and always, sweetheart. Love, Keith. I hardly ever open them or look at them because it can make me so sad about what happened to him that I very rarely do it. But I did want to bring it to you.
Thank you for bringing that. It was interesting that it got referred to without even having to open it, so I think that's really special. That's important.
Affirming that he is psychic. Just
Right.
reconfirming in her brain that he did that, even though it's a total and utter guess. It was his powers that made that happen. And he is just reaffirming that to solidify his, like, who he is. Does that make sense?
yeah, it's an authority builder.
Exactly. That's 100% what it is, which is straight from cold reading textbooks.
Your fiance did try to come through, actually, interestingly, after he passed away, and he really tries to make strong appearances in dreams. So this is good to keep in mind. There was a whole period of time after he passed where we didn't feel him, and people even within family probably did not feel him come around super strongly. But he does acknowledge one instance in which he did connect, and he brings forward coming through very vividly while someone is asleep. And the feeling is like, I'm there, you see me, I'm here. But the feeling is we don't see many visitations after this, just like a single thing.
Okay, that's a fuzzy fact. That's called a fuzzy fact, okay? And it provides tons of room for interpretation. So it's a single event. It's a claim about a single event. Have you ever had a dream, CJ?
Yeah,
What? You dream? I can't believe it.
all the
Oh
time.
my God. Has any of those dreams ever been emotionally charged in your entire life?
Yeah, quite a
Oh
few.
my God. You're lying to me. No way. Right? Like everyone has that. So it's a fuzzy fact. And then what she's doing, look at her eyeballs. They are right to the left or to the right, whatever way. They're not dead on. She's going to access memories. You can tell by her eyeballs. That's the way your eyes look when you're going to access memories. You look up when you're accessing visual information, to the left when you're accessing auditory information, and generally look down a little bit more or close your eyes for kinesthetic feeling type stuff. Okay? So he is noticing that without a doubt and has given her something to interpret in whatever way she does. And she is going to tell him all of the details. Once she
Yeah.
recalls the dream, he, I guarantee, will confirm that as, oh yeah, I knew that. I told you that. That was me that did that. Even though her brain, look at her eyes. Her brain is about to fill this in, not him.
Yeah, she's gonna make the connection because this was like my thinking on this. I mean, especially like with a dream. This one was not like the most far fetched to me, but I was like, okay, well, it's easy to pick something up off of this one on like how this could be fake, just because like like everybody dreams, and then especially like you dream about like what everyone you've ever seen. So it's bound to be like, of course, someone you have had an emotional connection with is going to come up at some point. And especially if it's somebody you've like lost, the feeling of like you seeing them again in a dream, you're going to like really hold on to that, especially if it's, been some time. Which some
Exactly.
time is also kind of vague because I think that like
Kind of
people
vague? That is
expect
so
for that
vague.
they like expect for that to happen immediately, and so it's like even if it's you've been without this person for a week or a month, like it's not that long, but because you were with them every day, for example, that
Right.
it's just like it feels longer.
Well,
So that
and
was
this
my
is a
thought, like, of course.
And this is a well-documented phenomenon in therapy, psychotherapy, especially IFS. These exiled, traumatized parts of us bypass our prefrontal cortex and things like that in our dreams because it's the only time we're not shoving them down, and we're completely we can't shove them down. So big, huge emotions. This has happened to me recently. Like big, huge things come up when you're working with and processing through some of these types of things in your dreams that you don't have time to deal with during the day, or you shove down in some other way. So it's just that is something that happens to everyone, not just mystically her. And he knows that. So I digress. We're almost...
It's really interesting that you mentioned Keith coming to me in a dream, because immediately after his death, I felt his presence. But then many years passed, and he came to me in a dream and told me to finally move on, to go on, were his exact words.
Right.
And the next day, I called David, who I'd known for many years, and said, look, you either move to New York, and we get married and have a family, or I'm going on. Well, amazingly, that Friday night, just a night or two later, I knock at the door, and it was my now husband. And when I opened the door, I looked down, and there were his bags. We got married immediately, and I had the twins. Well,
I want to pause just real quick. I have a question for you. I mean, especially from the lens of like doing trauma therapy and stuff. Like, to me, at least, it seems like she had this dream because she was kind of looking for that acceptance. So, like, will your brain give you subliminal messages like that on, like, oh yeah, you should go do this thing? Because, like, it seems like she already maybe like had this guy as like a boyfriend and just had some guilt that was holding her back, and so maybe she, I mean, it sounds bad, but like created this sort of scenario to be okay with moving on.
Yeah, 100%. I've seen crazier things people do to feel better about this kind of stuff. Like, it's not even crazy. It's cathartic. It's what she needs. There's nothing. And that's the other thing about this entire conversation. No shade at this lady. Like, she's gone through some stuff, and I feel for her.
Absolutely.
I truly do. But what you're describing, yes, our brains want to move away from pain, however that happens. And parts of us make up all sorts of different stories and do all sorts of different things to keep us away from and help us heal through that pain and move through it to get closure in whatever way we need to. So that is, we are evolutionarily wired to do what you're saying. Not just is it normal or is it a thing that happens? It is so normal. It is so well documented that it's how our brains work. So yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. That's just
good call.
That's what
Good
I was
call on
thinking,
that.
like.
Yeah, no, that's a great observation.
Visiting me in that dream, I probably would never have gone forward. I would have continued grieving for Keith and never married, and would have now been the happiest years of my life because of that one dream.
That's incredible. And that shows the profound effect that though our loved ones might not be here physically, they can impact our lives and they can affect the trajectory.
He really did.
Barnum statement.
And it changed my whole world. I never thought I could be so happy again since his death. And he did come to me in a dream, and it changed my life. I feel very much more contemplative, and the strongest feeling I've had of peace in a very long time.
That's real. If she's really feeling that, awesome. If it's for a show, whatever. But if she actually got to some of that peace, okay, I'm not trying to take that away by shedding light on this stuff. So I just want to be clear. No shade.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
For everything.
Yes. Oh, so sweet.
I just find many of the things he said were impossible for him to have gleaned on the internet or even a computer search of speeches I've given, of things that have happened. I find it very difficult to believe. I spent my life, my adult life, judging, evaluating, and analyzing people, their mannerisms, how they speak. Are they lying? Are they obfuscating the truth? Are they hiding something? And I find many of the things he said to be absolutely amazing.
I just read Nancy Grace. I cannot believe I just read Nancy Grace. That is so crazy. That reading, for me, I think, really exemplified the fact that even when those we love aren't here physically, they can change the direction of our lives and the path in which we go. You might be surprised to see how many life events do happen to us that are for the better, that might be initiated by those looking out for us.
Barnum statement. Sweet baby Jesus. Why not end with one? Man, what a wild time that was.
Real quick, like,
okay.
I don't know if it's like a generational thing, which when she's like, oh, there's no way you could find that out on the internet and stuff. You can find out everything. And like, I don't know if you've ever seen those like TikToks where people will literally take a like anonymous username not attached to anything and find out where they live. Like, it's really not that hard to find things out. And so for that to be a validator for her I was like, oh.
I
no.
literally Googled Nancy Grace, and the literal first fucking thing to show up 5 years ago, the murder of Nancy Grace's fiance Keith shattered her world. She completely lost her appetite and dropped out of... Are you kidding me? Come on, man. Nancy Grace relives horrific murder of late fiance. Like, all of these things. What happened to her husband? Is this true? Like, come on. Traumatic heartbreak.
I mean, I could guess like it would be some of like the specifics, right? Like her dad having the congestive heart failure and caused by something else. Like, I think that it's probably more based on things like that, where it's like, you know, not as important for Hollywood to know.
Right. No, I get that. And again, no shade at her and what she went through. That sucks. Like, I feel for her. Seriously, I do.
And,
like, I'm not trying to come at her.
Really attach meaning to these events and like be able to like become a prosecutor is a good story.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I'm here for it. So I'm not trying to take away from that kind of stuff. It's really, if you are, just be legit about it. Like, be honest about it. Like, it's just a really weird ethical line on like, can you give someone some level of catharsis in a moment? Sure. Or some freedom or some peace in a moment? Yes. Is it lasting? Probably not, to be honest. And so people want to believe that they're seen or that they're special in some way. Like, they remember the things that he confirmed or the hits that he had, the things that he got right, and they forget all of the misses. It's just straight confirmation bias, which plays into this stuff. Okay. So, and then the only people, again, who talk about it are the ones that work for probabilistically. So we only hear positive reviews again. So it's just, it's such a
with that,
crazy
why
concept.
don't you give us like your quick rundown on, if you're gonna go see a psychic, how can you trick them, or, you know, protect yourself? Either way.
I'd be careful.
Whichever
I've gotten thrown out of some of these sessions for doing some of these things that I'm about to share here. But if the first thing I would suggest is examine the intention. Why do you want to go to a psychic? What are you looking for outside of yourself that you could find inside of yourself with the correct help? What are you looking for? And really write that down and really have a think. Does going to this person outside of me help me do that? Or is there someone who could help me learn how to grow inside of myself and find these answers inside of me so that I'm not dependent on something outside of myself? Ask yourself that first and foremost, from my perspective. Whether it's a tarot card reader, a psychic, a medium, whatever, a spiritualist, whatever they are, very much ask that question first. Then, if you still decide you want to go and you want to really test this out, because I have, there's a couple of things that you can do. Say nothing. Give minimal responses, okay? So cold reading relies on your reactions to guide the next statement. So if you're neutral, well, maybe, that could be, or just simply kind of nod, you're not giving them something to read. And if they legitimately can do it, okay, if they really are some energetic being from another universe that can do this, okay, that shouldn't be a problem for them because they're fucking psychic and can read your mind. So you shouldn't have to say anything if it's true. This generally pisses them off. It frustrates them because they can't tell if their guesses are hitting or missing. So they have no confirmation bias on their team anymore, and it erodes confidence and the flow in general if they're using cold reading and they're not legit. So that's one step. The other one is a big one. Don't fill in the blanks. Okay? When someone's cold reading you, they use vague statements or names hoping you to make a connection. I have seen people literally guess the exact name of a relative, and the person was blown away. But then if you actually look at it, there are statistically this many people, this person was this age, there's this many people, this is the average name, and does it start with a J? Okay, there's only so many that are J, and you can probabilistically arrive even at a specific name. I can't do one off the top of my head. I'm not trained in this because I'm trained in a legitimate psychotherapy, but I'll have to find one.
So you should give an example and try to like pick out a random family member of mine.
Okay. Like their actual name?
Yeah, or just like a first name or something.
I have no idea. I don't study this stuff. Like this is this is not my bag. I'm not sitting there studying the cold reading statistical databases that are out there. So there's no shot that I could do it, but I guarantee that guy could.
Yeah.
And it's not because he's psychic. He just took time to look up the most relevant names and all these different types of things. Mm-hmm. So don't fill in the blanks. That's a huge one. If they say something like, I'm sensing a J, don't say, oh, it's my Uncle Joe. Just respond, no, I'm not sure. I don't know. Just say that and see what happens. Again, this frustrates them. It denies them a chance to reverse engineer your answer. Okay? It was like, if I was like, oh, CJ, I think your relative, is there an A in their name? Right? And you were like, oh my God, my Aunt May, or my aunt, I was like, oh, okay, A, May, A, that's what I was getting at, my bad. Right? And that allows your ability to be like, oh my gosh, my Aunt May, and you're so surprised. And then I'm like, I play into that. I'm like, yeah, A, May, that's what I was picking up on. And it's, again, I'm just confirming what you gave me, but I didn't give you anything. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next is ask them to be specific. This is the one that really drives them crazy. They rely on vague language that's very flexible because they're weaselly and they're wormy and they want to get out of shit. So if you respond with, can you be more specific? What do you mean exactly by that? Could you give me an example of what you're talking about? Oh, you say a J name. What kind of J names are coming to you? Could you be more specific on that? This forces them to commit to a claim, and they're more likely to get a specific claim wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I saw this. I saw this happen listening to a radio show one time, where they were trying to do this thing, and then, they attached a claim. He asked him to get more specific, and this guy was like, I'm seeing a lot of like books. I'm seeing a lot of like reading. Like that is something that's in your future. And the guy he was reading was an over the phone interview. Was like, well, I doubt it because I'm blind. And it was an amazing moment. It was hilarious to listen to. But obviously that instantly tore everything apart because there's probably not a lot of reading going on.
Right. Yeah. I'd be curious to see how he flipped that around, because it was like, it must be Braille, or like, I'd be curious to see how he...
It's just like moving on. Yeah.
So, and then the last thing you can do is use skeptical phrases. This drives them fucking crazy. That could apply to anyone. That sounds kind of vague. I feel like I've heard that before. I feel like I've heard this before. Is really? Like those types of things drive people crazy. I for real have gotten thrown out of a palm reader once. She's like, please leave. I was just like, okay. But what's most likely to happen here, again, is they are most likely to either blame it on you. It will not be their fault. Or if they know that you know that they're cold reading you, they will say, okay, thank you for coming in. I'm not going to charge you. Please leave. And like, some are polite, some are pissed off. Just depends if you're an asshole about it. But the other thing that they do is will spiritually bypass. You're just not open to the energies, or you don't have a spiritual connection, or you're too closed off for this, and make it your fault. And that's the one that pisses me off, because if someone comes in who is legitimately critical and rational and intellectual and may just ask these, be skeptical in general, but does also have a significant trauma, you just have blamed them and made them the bad guy, which is re-traumatizing. Like, you've just made it worse. And that is really bad when ego gets in the way, and instead of helping someone, you're actually re-traumatizing or poking at an open wound. That's messed up. That makes me mad.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point because psychics are like 2 steps away, right? Like it's hard to get people to like even go to therapy. Especially because like there's this connotation of you have to be open to it, right? You have to be open to helping yourself. And so now you're asking people like it's another removal of you have to be open enough to try like this alternative medicine, but you also have to be open enough on a spirituality plane to believe that people are like contacting you from beyond. So I can definitely see how people would run into that issue, or like psychics maybe are banking on people coming in and being like very open, but encountering like a
Yes.
skeptic, like that's the worst possible scenario, especially because like trauma can definitely make you incredibly cautious and skeptical. So if you're going in and you're searching for any kind of help and you finally gotten yourself to that point and you get shut down, like yeah,
Dude, it's
that's awful.
absolutely re-traumatizing and can be so bad, and just shut someone off into their turtle shell again, and that's it. It's like, are you kidding me? That's so bad. And you don't have to heal. You don't have to go to a psychic. You don't have to go to a medium. There are tons of legitimate ways that don't involve you speaking to the voices in your head that can help you heal. That aren't going to pathologize you. That aren't going to blame you.
All right, I think with that we should move into our just our overall thoughts on what we watched today and about maybe like this kind of space in general.
Yeah. I mean,
Where would you
I
go?
feel like we just hit on that. I mean,
Yeah.
this is straight out of, you could do the same thing with tarot cards, palm reading, any of the kind of stuff. They would be using the same statements. They'd be using the same like fuzzy facts, the Barnum statements, the rainbow statements. Like, so again, what we watched is par for the course on the research and the books that I've read on cold reading and things like that. And none of that surprised me. It was exactly as I would have expected it to go.
I think there was a lot of different things that actually like I can add to like my overall thoughts. A lot of things that I didn't think about before. I think something that stuck out was specifically you talking about how it's surface level healing, because like absolutely it's you attaching, meaning to whatever you want and kind of clinging to that, and I think there's like a big hope aspect too. But yeah, that surface level healing is definitely something, and it's like the outering instead of looking within yourself is that's a lot. And then definitely like attaching meaning to things, because like I again I told everybody like I'm on like witch talk and stuff. I see like the frequencies, which that is science fact. That's a whole nother story. Or like tarot card readings, and like my friends and I will do tarot card readings for fun, but you're assigning almost all of the meaning there, right? If somebody
Yes.
flips a card and it says like, oh well, this is like signifying that you're going to get like a high paying job or a promotion or something, like I got that card, it's quite a bit later, and like I'm in the same place, but you want it to be true, so you're like, oh my god, yes, absolutely, all these things are going to happen to me. And I think there's something to be said for the mindset that comes along with that as well, because then
Yeah.
you're in a positive optimistic frame of mind
Exactly.
or like a negative one, and that can really impact how your life is going to go then if your
Right.
entire mindset is affected.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I think you're dead on. I think this is it's really interesting stuff. Our brains are made to make meaning. That's literally
Right.
what they do. We are meaning making machines. That is 100% of the day what we are doing constantly. So that's what these people are using.
Well,
Whether or not it's good or bad. What I guess what's your perspective? I feel like people could probably guess where I'm at on this, but what is your perspective? Is it good? Is it bad? Where do you fall on this?
I mean,
do
it's
they
hard to
pass the
say.
lab results? Would they pass the lab test? Okay.
I don't think it
Thank
passes
you.
the lab test, because obviously
Not
like
at all.
like we just did, we break down the science of it. There is like science behind these things that even are used as therapy tactics, like reading expressions and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like yeah, absolutely, like parts of this are based in science, but like ultimately you're not going for that bit, or you would go to like a traditional psychologist or psychiatrist, right? You're going for the spirituality aspect, and I think that gets really murky for me, is tying spirituality into all of this. Just I feel like that should like stay as separate as possible.
Right.
Because then you're going to make even more meaning, right?
Yes.
And like I'm not going to deny that like that can obviously help you heal, like I'm sure like there's plenty of stories of like, oh, like this person like came to me from the afterlife, or like we had this thing and I see this thing all the time now. I know that they're taking care of me, and like I'm in favor of that. I think that that's like fine and good and helps you heal and move on. But when uh it almost feels like it's getting exploited for this like surface level healing, instead of like you are actually dealing with this and learning how to like see this thing and appreciate it instead of being sad about it. That's where it gets murky for me. As far as just like the practices in general, I mean, I will do these things just to have fun, right? Like I love to
Yes.
do like tarot cards and like Ouija boards just because it's like it's fun and silly, it's aesthetic, whatever. So if you're doing it, I think you have to know the meaning that you're going into it with. If you are going
Exactly.
into it with, I want to legitimately heal, then like Cody said earlier, you really need to think about what your intention is, so that way you're not just ready to give everything away. But if you're
Yeah.
doing this for fun and maybe you get something that makes you like a little bit optimistic, a little bit on an emotional high, I don't think that that's like harmful, because you were going into it with the mindset of like, oh, this is just a thing, and if it's bad, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I try
So
to understand where this could fit in or how it could be legitimized. Like if someone were to go in and say, hey, I use cold reading, it is a form of healing that some people find effective if you're more spiritual, and I am someone like the frame that I use for that is talking to people that I feel or sensing things or things like that, and just going with my gut or my intuition, and that's healing for some people. If you're interested in that, let's have some sessions. Or I don't know if that would break the magic or because they're essentially using placebo, heavy placebo, with that spiritual context or the energetic context. So I just don't know how you could be like an ethical reader almost without just saying this is just for fun. Like I'm not talking to your relatives, but I still think I could help you. So I don't know how to
I
square that. I
wonder,
don't know how to toe that
like,
line.
because neither of us are really like in a church or anything right now, but that was something I was thinking about, is like I wonder how this looks like from like other like religious aspects. Because I think a lot of the times, like psychics specifically, it's outside of like these big religious norms. It's like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, kind of fringe, kind of on the outside, and it's like you believe in something, maybe you're kind of like agnostic. But I almost feel like there's got to be something like what you're saying that functions within like Christianity, for example, because it's just
Right.
so developed.
Where
And
we
like
all
there's
agree on a paradigm and move with it or something.
right, and you understand exactly what the person believes. And like I believe that there's a lot of churches that have like internal, I mean, they do like marriage counselors. I'm assuming that there's like grief counseling and groups for that sort of thing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
um
That's so common. Yeah.
yeah, so I wonder if like those kind of maybe same strategies are
Yeah, something like that.
being used.
I think that would help a ton, because IFS is what I'm trained in, and I talk to people about their parts, and that's a frame. That's a frame like where it's like, yeah, we're made of parts, but I explain it with science. Like if you look at water, it's made up of what? Hydrogen and oxygen. Oxygen and hydrogen are the parts that make up water. One drop of water creates, with lots of drops of water, you create a puddle. With lots of puddles, you create a lake. With lots of lakes, you create an ocean. Like parts make up the whole. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a frame, but I'm transparent about that frame. And I'm like, here is the frame and what I believe. Does that make sense to you? Is that a way? Cool. Okay. Inside that context, if you believe that, here's how we heal. And that's a framing that IFS uses, very much based in empirical research and science, not just cold reading necessarily, but cold reading has science behind it. And it's like neurolinguistic programming and psycholinguistics and things like that. But so maybe that's a way to do it. Because the thing about it that I think about a lot is intention versus impact. You know, I don't think that these people have bad intentions, right?
No.
But the impact that they're having could be good or bad. And just because you have good intention doesn't mean that the impact you had on somebody is not fucked up or bad, you know, or hurt them or could be painful.
Dude, I feel like maybe this is a point that we sort of brushed right over, though, is if you have like a bad experience with a like psychologist or a psychiatrist, like because of all of the training they have to do, like there is someone above them.
Oh yeah.
There is like structures that these people have to go through to get their accreditation, which is also something that they're just like, I mean, there's not in the psychic world. I'm sure that maybe
Oh, it's the
there's like
Wild
some
West.
sort of training structure, but it's, and like I guess like if you don't like academia, then fine, I can see how you'd be okay with it. But like, you know what I mean? Like if you have a psychologist and everyone is leaving review like, oh my God, this person just keeps traumatizing people, or you can report them to a board
Right.
and they'll like
Which
run
is
an
not possible.
investigation. Right. There's a
Not
lot of
possible for cold
accountability.
readers. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
No.
And that just, again, further fuels that cycle of only seeing positive things. Not only is there no one to report to, but there's so much shame and so much shit that comes from, I went to a psychic and they tricked me. Who is going to come and say that? Like for you, maybe I would say it to you, CJ, because we would laugh about it. But my family, like people who get scammed on the phone or emails and fall for that stuff, it's such a huge shame spiral they go through, and they do not want anyone to know about it. And so it just further fuels the positive bias that you see. So that's a very good point.
I think we have like already answered, but for our viewers, we always like kind of ask a big question at the end, and you can answer in the comments. And this one is, so do you believe in psychics, and would you use one?
No, I do not believe in them. And would I use one for fun? Yeah, it'd be a fun time. Like I've done that. It's kind of fun and just kind of go along and, oh my God, my uncle Alma May, I can't believe it. Like it's kind of, it can be fun, but I would never use one if I'm trying to legitimately heal any type of traumatic thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. And if you do believe in it, I mean, like, shoot, drop it in the comments and explain it to us. Maybe we can put some science behind it.
It's a hot topic. It's hard, and people want to confirm. I just, if you're going to roast us in the comments, go for it. But please just take a second and look at the other side of this. I am more than willing to take a second. I've gone to these people. I've talked to people who've gone to them and things like that. Mm-hmm. And there just hasn't been a time where I've gone in with an open, curious mind, and then I'm just hearing the cold reading, straight cold reading stuff. And I'm like, okay. So please just have an open. I know that you want to confirm it. I know that these are, people are poking at some of the most deepest emotional wounds that you have. And it's hard to hear that is something that is fabricated if you are that deep in this. But I promise you that it is okay. You can still heal. You're not bad. There's no shame. There's no guilt. It's totally okay. You wanted to heal, and someone else was trying to help you do that. And that you don't have to feel ashamed about that. So I just want to give that love that I truly care for these people. I'm in the space. Like I truly care about them. So no shade at all.
Absolutely. And no judgment from us.
No, not at all.
Look at things,
I couldn't judge anyone.
We roast, I roast some people on this channel, but no, not about like healing trauma and stuff. We're good. Whatever you need to do to move on, do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Fuck it. If it works for you, okay. When it stops working, please reach out to someone that can really, really, really help you with the deep stuff. So, all right, I think that's all we got for today. Anything we missed or anything else you want to hit on?
No, I think this is a fun one.
Yeah, dude, I love these. We've got tons more lined up. As we mentioned, we love doing these. If you have other things you want us to react to, other pseudoscience or different things like that, please let us know in the comments or DM us on Instagram. And thanks for watching this TDL reaction, baby. I'm having fun doing these, so I really love these.
Yeah, absolutely. These are a great time. We're at the Decision Lab on Instagram, and I will be the one fielding your DMs. So.
Let's go, baby. All right, remember, always question everything, especially your own beliefs. See you next time, everybody. Peace.
Bye.